Whew. All right. We're coming on. And I don't know if anybody's coming on with me, but welcome. Hello. I'm driving down the road in the middle of the day and had these thoughts to share, these thoughts that came into my head. And so I'm going to pass them on to you or to whoever may be listening or may find these things that I think are... things that I think will hopefully bless you. So Connie and I are in a season. Hey everybody, good to see you. I see some people coming on now. Connie and I are in a season of looking for a new home, and I'm reminded of Abraham. The story of Abraham. The Scripture talks about Abraham. I believe it's Abraham. Maybe it's Moses. I think it's in Hebrews 11. That they were pursuing him who is invisible and following after him. Who we do not see, and so much of life is that. Paul talked about it in Acts 17, that we feel after God, that we may lay hold of him, even though he's not far from any one of us. And we are pilgrims on this earth. We are passing through, and part of that passing through is finding a place to live, having food, clothing, and shelter, a job. Place is very important. Place is very spiritual, and finding that place and being on an adventure with God in that place is very much part of what it means to be human, and the connections that we have to that place are also important and part of being human. So we find ourselves, again, Connie and I, seeking for a home, but seeking not only for a home, not just four walls and a roof. Homes are spiritual. What takes place in homes is spiritual. The meaning of home is spiritual. And so we're not just looking for a new address, we're looking for where is our place in the next season that God has for us? Where is our base camp for daily living, our base camp for marriage life, loving, making love, for building and partnering together, our base camp for setting up to do the things God has put in our heart to do, our base camp as parents, our children, for their roots, for their function, for their base camp of what is their what is their place, And as we're doing this so many times, pursuing He who is invisible, I've for whatever reason, I moved a lot in my life, and I think that used to be something that I was ashamed of, because like Connie, for instance, Connie's dad still lives in the house she grew up in. Her mom and dad married, they bought the house, they had all four kids there. Now they've got 11 grandkids, I think, now, and those grandkids are graduating from high school into college. And, of course, Connie's mom has passed on, but the Grandpa Dave, my father-in-law, is still there. Hello, Lucky. Hope you're seeing it. In contrast to that, there are other people like me, some people in military lives who were this place and that place and this place, some people who were business lives in this place and that place. But I've had a lot of reasons to be in different places. Of course, I've with my starting with my parents' divorce, and then leaving and moving into an apartment with my mom, and then my mom getting a house, and then leaving and moving in with my grandparents, and then my mom buying that house, and then my mom meeting my adoptive dad, and then them moving into a house that was theirs, and then them building a house, and then even losing that house in the savings and loan crash and all that stuff that happened in the 80s, and really struggling and living with friends and living in trailers, and I've been evicted. I've lived with in all sorts of different places. And somewhere in there, in this journey, in this awkwardness, has come a craving for a sense of place. And I think it's a craving that I have because of so much displacement, all the different places I've lived. And then you add on to that kind of a spiritual season. Sometimes you get to a place and you think, well, this is our place. And then a season shifts and you find yourself in sort of supernatural places of this life that's pursuing Him who is invisible. Okay, God, you're leading us to something else. And much like Abraham, the story of Abraham goes that God came to him and said, get away from this place into another place. And the King James says, a place that I will show you, right? Or he tells him to go to the mountain that I will show you. Doesn't tell him where the mountain is, just tells him where he's currently at is not it, and he's got to get to that place. Doesn't tell him where the place he's being led, just the place that he's in is no longer it. And my spiritual father taught on this a long time ago. Is sometimes trusting God is just making a move, just making a step. And what is that step? Well, which step? Left foot or right foot? North, south, east, west? Just make a step, and trusting that when you step out, that step will find its place, that the foot will land where it is. Proverbs 20:24, man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man understand his own way? So living that life, Proverbs 16, Proverbs 19, rolling our daily life, our plans over on the Lord, saying, Father, in the Amplified verse 3, Proverbs 16:3, cause my thoughts to become agreeable with your will. I have lower and inferior intention of wisdom, but I trust your higher and superior intention of wisdom will swallow up what I'm thinking and lead me to that place. And then you find yourself on a journey, on an adventure, and that's what life is supposed to be about. There's a lot to be said about, making widgets for Mr. Basely Sprockets, or making Sprockless, or Cogswell Cogs, or whatever it is. And as long as you're doing that on a supernatural dimension, that you're there not because of the money, not because of I'm 2 years away from retirement or whatever, but because you believe it pleases the Father for you to be there, and you believe that's your divine where, doing your divine what, in this divine when. That's how we're supposed to go through life, and following God and living that supernatural life on that adventure. So out of that, I think I have a craving for it and a home. And what's so interesting is I've not had a home. I bought a home. Connie and I owned a home when we first got married, and then got another home, and then felt like we should leave and go to Jacksonville, and leased a home, and then we bought a home, and then, kind of our family was growing, so we leased a home, and then the financial crash happened, and all the homes crashed out everywhere, so then we bought a home, and thought, well, this will be it. I just want to live here for the rest of my life. And then a spiritual season shifted, and we moved to Atlanta, not knowing how long we'd be here. Well, maybe a year or two. We signed a 2-year lease. We could be gone. We have all these different things in our heart. How long am I going to be here? Well, a year turned to 2, and 2 turned to 3, and 3 turned to 4, and 4 turned to 5. 5.5 years later, we can't stay in the home that we're in. The guy who owned it, who was only going to lease it to us for a year, his life got busy, our life got busy, and we thought, well, are we going to be here? But now we've ended up with a senior in high school. Now we've ended up with a freshman going into high school. And for our family's sake, we feel like, Atlanta may be home next 2 years, next 4 years. And so our where seems to be Atlanta. But, do we buy? Do we not buy? I don't know what's going on in your neck of the woods, but the prices up here are crazy. So we've been looking to lease again, maybe 2 years, maybe 4 years. And I found myself getting disquieted because, God, I just want that place. And I really think it is, at least as far as my understanding, that there's no place here in this natural realm that will be home like home in the heavenly realm, like to be with the Father. That's a key thing. And secondly, home for me is wherever Connie is. Right now it's wherever Connie and the kids are, but it's certainly going to be as they go out and build their own homes wherever Connie is. And so that defines home, but finding where we believe we should be in that next season. And there's that old story about, and I'm not going to be too long here, but there's that old story about the missionary who spent many years, like Connie's aunt, I think 50 years or something, in India, feeding and clothing, etc. And these missionaries come home and they land in New York and they go through customs, and they think they're going to have some people from their church at the airport, and nobody meets them there. And so they think, well, when we get out of baggage claim, there will be somebody there. And of course, there's nobody at baggage claim. They get to the curb and there's nobody there. And so this old man and his wife, they take a cab to the home that they've rented to come back to. And they come, and as they're driving, it takes, their normal hour trip into the city, or out of the city, I guess, takes them, an extra 2 hours because the Yankees have just won a World Series, and there's a big ticker tape parade, and people are screaming and drunk, and they're waving, and they're the Brooklyn Bombers or whatever. They're just, the whole city's in an uproar, and this old missionary and his wife are fighting through the traffic to get home. They finally get there. They rented this room in the back of this little cabin, this cottage, and they're not a cottage, but not a cabin, but a cottage, and they're there, and the guy begins to break down, weeping. Hey, Pastor Mike. Hey, Ty. So the man breaks down, and his wife is asleep, and he says, God, I don't understand it. I spent 50 years out there serving you. And I come home and nobody meets me at the airport, and I come out to the baggage claim, nobody meets me at baggage claim. I come out to the curb, nobody meets me at the curb, and they're throwing this whole city. People hit a ball with a bat, and they act like it's the greatest thing in the world. And here I come home, and nobody even pays attention to me. I mean, I've been serving you all these years, and it's like it doesn't even matter that I'm back home. Nobody even noticed. And anyway, the Spirit of God spoke to him and said, well, that's simply because you're not home yet. and when you are home, we're going to celebrate big time. So I don't know if in the earth realm there is a home on the level that hey T, hey Lisa, I don't know if there is a home on the level that I'm craving. The home I'm craving has a building and foundation whose maker is God. The home I'm craving is something that is in his divine presence. But in the interim, the house that I need, the 4 walls and a roof that Connie and I got to find that we're walking out is where Connie is. And it is the place where Connie is, where the kids are, for the foundation to set up the base camp of Connie and I's next season, and to set up the foundation, the base camp of our kids next season as they step into the adventure that God has for their life. So on the screen, and I'm going to go through this. So what about these spiritual thoughts? So what you're looking for, and I don't know if I'm not pastoring anymore, so I don't really have a chance to pass this on to people, but what you're looking for is this. Your primary concerns are threefold. Number one, location, right? Where is your divine where, for this season? Where is your divine where? And then the function, as Connie and I look at a house, we're looking at the functions that we need. Hey, Kenya. All the functions that we need for our home. We've got to have, we need a fence for the dog so the dog doesn't go crazy. We need a fence. We'd like a pool. We'd like a pool. We'd like a decent yard. We'd like some privacy. We like to have a playroom for the kids. They're having friends come over and in high school and everybody's hanging out and it's, can we sleep over? Can we do this? Can we have a party? Can so-and-so come over and watch? These are the things that we need. We need function. We need an office. I got to have a place to write. We got to have a place for homeschool. We've got to have a place for guest bedroom. We have people come stay with us. Pastors come stay with us, etc. So there's a function that we need. And then in that next part is cost. And so if you're looking for a home, if you say we ever find ourselves looking and seeking, this is the guide that Connie and I live by. This is what we go by. And all the places we move, okay, where? And sometimes the where, we just look for what's green. And sometimes that can be naturally green, but we look for where we have a sense of spiritual effervescence. And sometimes we'll pick out on a map and everything on the map seems like, yeah, this is it. But when we get there, it just doesn't have that life feel to it. And then we'll go to a place that we never thought we'd live and say, man, it just feels alive. So when we left Atlanta 20 years ago, I guess, coming up 20 years ago, we lived in south of Atlanta. We lived in a place called Fayetteville. And that was just, hey, Larry, love you, son. Man, miss you, buddy. Happy baby, happy everything. So we lived in the south side, south of Atlanta in Fayetteville, and it was just the greatest place. Minimum 1 acre lots where we live, lots of woods, rolling hills, calm country demeanor, happy folks, etc. And we thought, well, God, if you're leading us back to Atlanta, we'll go there, and drove through Fayetteville, and it was dead to us. Wonderful people, wonderful memories, but it just wasn't green. And so we had to find not just the location on paper, the location that was familiar, but where is the sense of life? Hey, Pastor Dave. Here's that Nate watching on Facebook yelled at me from downstairs. Okay, well, don't. Oh man, both of you on the feed. All right, hey Nate. So we had to find our divine location, and these are your hard things. Okay, so this is the borders of what you're dealing with, And as Connie and I look in this crazy market, what's interesting is we find that we're looking at homes to start with that have 2 of the 3. Okay, we found one. It's got the function that we need, and it's in the area. But that cost is a little more than we want to pay. Or we do the opposite, where we say, man, it's got all the pieces we need, and the price is right, but it's a little outside of the circle. And so navigating, hey April, hey Jeremy, West Coast, happy everything, a birthday recently, anniversary recently, you're just winning on all fronts. So finding this, and I'm really writing this, I had a spiritual son of mine, as a matter of fact, in California, just found a home. They've been looking for a year, and they found it. It was everything that they want, and the realtor could have sold it to somebody else, but they really wanted to sell it to this couple, felt like God wanted them to have it, and it turns out to be just right up the road from their covenant people. So it's finding the spiritual where. So Connie and I are in this place where we're like, okay, what about this one? It's in the sweet spot, it's got a good cost, but it doesn't have a pool. Or, we say, well, man, the cost is right, and it has everything, but it's about 5 miles outside of the circle. So navigating, here's what you want, though. What are you looking for? You're looking for where all of these things, come together, where all of these things just boom, they just meet in the middle, and it's a beautiful thing. So as you pray through, say, Father, there is something out there for us, and it's going to exist at the sweet spot. Hey, Carrie. Hey, everybody. Just love you guys so much. It's like old home week. So anyway, I need to move on. So that's the first tier, is the function, cost, and location thing. The next thing is this, and you'll see this up in this corner here, where you have features and finishes. Within finding your function, finding the place of function, the the location and cost. Within this is a gradient, right? And this gradient is of features and finishes. So like Connie and I were looking at a place the other day, and it had a bunch of features that we liked. It had a tennis court on it, which we love that. We love the place. It had tremendous privacy. One cool thing that we like is it had a steam shower in the master, which we thought was great. It had an office off the master suite for me and an office off the master suite for her. Great features. It had a huge basement for me to have a studio and even have a couple of people live when we do the Nothing Else Matters taping, or not, they're not tapings, they're done live. But when we got into the finishes were very old. The house was built in 1950. It was updated in about 1995 or whatever. And so it was, it worked, but they were very old. So within your time, or within your location, price, and function, you have this gradient of features and finishes. Sometimes, we see a complete opposite where we're like, man, Connie and I like hardwood, certain kind of hardwood floors. We're not real contemporary. We're kind of classic, and we're like, oh, it's just got our feel to it. It's got the type of trees we like. It's got the type of lawn that we like, and it's got all that kind of stuff. It's just got our feel to it. But man, the pool is real small, the kids' bedrooms, it's not real great, and the shower is kind of, so navigating the feature and function, and of course, all this has direct bearing on the cost. How much are you willing to pay? How far are you willing to move? What function are you able to give up? You say, well, it doesn't have all these things here. Hey, Connie. Oh, you guys, all right. I was like, Connie, you're upstairs too. What are you doing? Anyway, so you get my point. So navigating the features and functions, and I'll move forward. The third thing you're going to look for is down here, and this is a huge one, season. Season is a big thing. What season are you in? And season comes in three places. What about your financial season? Are you in a building, a recovery season? Are you in a trying to pay off other things so you can't go big giant baller thing? Or are you saying no? We're looking to we're in a season where putting a lot into our home is really what we want to do, but we're going to downsize later. Are you just coming out trying to build a life? You may not want to invest a bunch. Maybe you're single, looking to get married one day, and you say, I'm not going to go spend. I almost did that. I almost bought $1 million home, about $900,000 home, 44 acres in Fayetteville, and I was like, I want to buy this home. It's beautiful. I could definitely afford the home at the time, and took my pastor out, and I was like, what do you think? He said, Mike, you got to do this. This is just a great peaceful retreat. You'll be able to do everything you need out here. And I talked to my mom about it. She said, that's great. And she said, go and let me know. So I went and told her, and a couple weeks later, she said, you like the home? I said, hey, I like the home. She said, yeah, I've been praying about it. I don't think you should do that. Don't think I should do it. You told me to. I just talked to Pastor Dollar. He told me he thought it was great too. She goes, yeah, but you never know how your life can change. You go out there and get this big estate and all this kind of stuff. And then what if you meet some lady and bring her in? It won't be your house together. It'll be the house that she'll be moving into your world. I said, Mom, you're just ridiculous. Well, 30 days. Well, actually, I went to the gym the next week. Pastor asked me, he said, what'd you ever do on that home, son? I said, my mom called and said, don't get it because I might meet somebody. And he goes, yeah, she's right. And I'm like, great, now y'all are ganging up on me. Anyway, long story, too late, but it's all long story short, I ended up meeting Connie about 30 days later and was so glad, about 60 days later, I was so glad I had moved into that home because the Connie and I got, we got it together. So where's your financial season? The next question is this down here. What about your focus season? Sometimes you want to go into a home and you take it as is. I need it to be ready now. I don't have 2 years or 3 years or whatever to get it right. I need to go in and it has to function now. Connie and I look at some homes, are like, with a little bit of love, this could be something. But also with our kids, a couple years out, we're looking at homes, we're like, well, maybe if they added a pool, or maybe if we bought it and we added a pool or whatever else it is. But Mikey's got 2 or 3 years left in high school. We don't want to spend all that time getting renovated, or, the basement's not finished, but we could really build it out nice, or there's no room for a studio, but there's land to add. And so are we in an as-is situation, or are we willing to take on a project? Finding out your spiritual season, what time is it in your life is a huge thing. All right, so that's that. All right, last one. Here we go. And this is the big one. Up here, well, let me get a different color here so you can kind of see it. The last one is this, prayer and reciprocity, or prayer, reciprocity, and stewardship. So what I mean by prayer, reciprocity, so here you are, right? You're praying on this side, Lord, lead me to a home. But you got to walk through this thing thinking that there's someone else praying out here, Lord, send us the buyer. I learned this from my spiritual grandfather. Send us the buyer, or send us the tenants for our home. This is what we want. We want as a family. That while the Smith family is out here praying, the Jones family is out here praying, Father, there's somebody walking around that house right now, the house we're looking for. We got to move in a couple months, well, about 30 days, 40 days, whatever. There's somebody, hey, Brother Tim, hey, Corey, hey, everybody, hi, love. So that there's somebody, I believe there's somebody out there right now that's out at the mailbox. It's 5:23 out at their mailbox right now and saying, Lord, just send the right people here to lease this house. Lord, send the people here that are going to love it. Send the people here that everything about it is just an answer to their prayers. Send the people here that are going to do your work in this house. So that's the reciprocity. So I'm here praying, Lord, lead us to the place where we can do the work. And there's somebody out there praying, Lord, lead us to the place. There's somebody out there who has a studio built in their house that they never used, or that a record producer used to own it. They got a studio downstairs and all this kind of stuff, and these people have lived there since they bought it, never touched it. But they're out there right now, standing there and saying, Lord, we never did anything. We were going to turn that into a nursery, or we were going to turn that into a library, never did it. But they don't know there's somebody out there praying that when I walk in that studio, I'll go, man, I do a thing every week. I needed this thing. So where's the prayer reciprocity that the prayer you're trying to get answered and the prayer somebody else trying to get answered will come together? I had this happen with a guy, bought the house that I had in Jacksonville. So we had a home in Jacksonville, and we're looking to, say we got to get rid of it. And we moved and took on, hey, Tyrone, Winston, hey, everybody, Kathy, everybody, miss you too, man, much love. So we had a home we were trying to get rid of, and couldn't sell the thing, could not move the thing, and had it up for this and had it up for that, had it for sale. And I finally told the Lord, I said, Lord, I got to stop trying to sell this based on the market and based on the realtor. I need to find who you want to put in there. And we spent a year not only taking on a new Atlanta mortgage with no job, no money, no income, I mean, just barely living by faith, but we were trying to maintain the mortgage back there in Jacksonville, which was $4,000 plus pool, plus lawn, plus utilities, plus gate fees and HOAs and all this other kind of stuff, and $5,000 a month for a year. And I finally said, Lord, you know what? You send the right person to this home. I don't care if I got to pay $5,000 a month the whole time they're there. I want who you want in that home. And there was a preacher, a guy in Jacksonville, who had a meeting, had a pastor's anniversary, and during the anniversary had been prayed over by his leadership and had a vision of a home. And he saw this home and he saw this, and it was a month later, he drove up in my driveway, found my home for sale, had found the paper. I had pulled the ad out of the paper. He found it 3 weeks later, said, hey, I came across an old paper. Is your home still for sale? I said, yes, sir, it is. He said, can I go see it? I said, yes, sir, you can. And got him let in. And when he pulled in the driveway, he broke down crying in the driveway, because he said, this is the house the Lord showed me. And here, catch this idea of reciprocity. Here I am saying, Lord, send the right person for the home. Here this guy is saying, Lord, show me the right home. He said, well, we need to negotiate. I said, there's nothing to negotiate. Tell me he said, well, tell me how much you want to sell it for. I said, tell me how much you want to pay for it. Why? Because the money was not the issue. And he said, well, I'll give you this. I said, that'll be fine. He said, do you want any more? I said, no. He said, you sure you don't want any more? I said, no. I said, you sure you don't need me to lower the price? He said, no, because we were after what was the mind of God for our lives. So that's that prayer reciprocity. But the final part of that is here in stewardship, that you have to realize that Connie and I, when we move into this home or wherever God's leading us, buying, leasing, whatever it is, that when we get there, we're only stewarding it for the next person. You never own anything. It just comes into your life to steward for the next assignment that God has for you. Hey, Chris, one of our top Chris and Holly are on everything, every moment of every time, just loving on us and supporting us. It means so much. I don't even think we've met face to face before, but thank you for your military service and thank you for your love. I'm telling you, it means a lot. So, so this stewardship now, of it's mine for how long and for when and for what, and you realize it only came into your hands to use for God's purpose while you had it, and when it's time to release, it's time to release. So where is the prayer reciprocity? Where's this? Final thing to highlight is down here on the bottom. I didn't get this. Your financial season, your focus season, and finally your family season. That's where Connie and I are. Connie and I don't know how long Atlanta's going to be our home. You know, everybody keeps saying you need to start a church. We don't have a piece for starting a church. We do feel like we're supposed to get this stuff out of us, which is why we do the show every Sunday. We have things to contribute. I don't know if they're worth contributing or not, but there are things to contribute. And for the few people who say, man, that is exactly what the Lord has been showing me, it has value. But we don't know Atlanta. We're not tied to a city. Hey, Raph. Hey, Andrea. Oh, that's good family. So we're not tied to Atlanta. We're not tied to a zip code. We're tied to the season. But in our family season, our babies are in high school. Man, Olivia's at prom last week. She's on this thing. She's vice president of student body, and Mikey's coming up. He's going to be on newsletter. They're flourishing. Their drama things are taking off. The things Olivia's got open doors, going to dual enrollment. So our season is not just where are we financially and where our focus is. our season is also where is our family. There may come a time that Connie and I pick up and go, but it's not only when you buy a house, the family, are your kids in school or not, but is this time for a big house or a small house? Connie and I are looking at our next place to say, okay, in 10 years, are we going to be looking for where would we like to have grands? Where's the little bed, the bunk bedroom? Where can we have a little nursery? Where can we have Mikey and his family come and stay? Where can we have everybody come in for a weekend or for Christmas or for holiday? They got to go see the in-laws here and there. It's season. Where are you family season-wise? So I think that's all that I have. The last thing is you take your memories with you. You take your memories with you. And when you leave out, you just say, God, I thank you for the season that I had here, and I take my memories with you. You know, when we got ready to move to Jacksonville, we told Olivia, we said, we'll leave Jacksonville and move to Atlanta. We think we feel like our season is up here. We got to go. And she fell over crying. Oh, it's horrible. I said, okay, it's okay. She said, no, it's like both my parents have died. I said, okay, let's dial it back here a little bit. That's a bit much. But, she was only, 10 or 11. Well, Mikey's reading her, and Mikey looks at her crying, so Mikey falls over, and he's crying. I said, what's wrong with you? He says, you're heartbreaking all my memories. You're heartbreaking all my memories. I love that, heartbreaking all his memories. Well, as you know, we moved here, and as soon as we got here, they started prospering, a new season, and they're not looking behind. They're not looking back to say what was. They're looking ahead, and Olivia's like, hey, I can serve here at the History Center. Look at this door God has opened here. And you're moving, because when you're moving in the Spirit, your heart, God already has the grace, the relationships, and everything else there when you get there ahead of time, right? So you get there, and you find out God has already made provision for your heart, for your family and everything else. But, I tried to go back to Indiana, the city I was born in, and couldn't even find the home, Tremont Road. I couldn't even find it. I found Tremont Road. I don't know what home mine is. And my mom's passed on to even tell me, oh, here's where we used to live, son. I don't have those type of roots. There's a Miranda Lambert, country western singer. I don't even call it country western singer. What do you call it? It's outlaw country is what I used to know. I don't know too much anymore. But she has a song called The House That Built Me. And I know there's a dog buried back there, and I wrote my boyfriend's initials on that wall there, and my little height measurements on that door threshold here. The house that built you. Well, I don't have a house that built me, right? I don't have that. But when we go back, I have my memories, right? We lived in a house that's torn down. The house I'm sitting in right now, where my little studio is, they're going to tear it all down and build some. I mean, the land that I'm sitting on right now is worth millions of dollars. They're going to come in here and build, Mr. Peabody's coal shovels coming in here to, haul it all away. And we're going to drive down this road one day, and we won't see the house or the pool or the studio or the place that we had sleepovers, right? We'll never have that. We'll never have that again. You won't be able to stand there and say, I did this or get that picture. We'll just have the memory. But that's what we carry with us, right? The house Olivia was born in, and we moved into a house, and 2 years later, they tore that thing down, built a palace. She said, I don't even see the house I lived in, but you carry those memories with you, and that is the gift, those memories, and making those memories inside the home, and that's where we are, and that's where we believe in God, and we know without a shadow of a doubt that that's what God will bring into. So if you're looking for a home, I've never put these thoughts down. These are the things that, if any of you ever went to my church or ever heard me talk, this is the thing that I live for, to impart this type of thing, to just, when I got called to preach, if what you're saying can't be taken out and lived at home, then you just leave it alone. And I'm hoping you're able to take this and live it. So just those things: location, function, cost, features, finishes, what season financially, what focus season, what family season, and of course the reciprocity and your stewardship for what God has next. God bless you. Pray for us. We pray for you. God is good. And Connie and I were out looking at a home today. So, we'll drive up there and look at it. And we thought, man, we should really tell people, you don't have to do it our way. Just say, Lord, lead us to it. But at least some of our broken, fragmented thoughts can be passed on to you. Connie and I love you. Make it a great, great, great Wednesday night. And until next time.